everyone. Welcome to the panel. This is the Force to be Reckoned with, the Women of Inferno. My name is Whitby Miller. I'm from the Garrison Tyrannus and I live in Northern Virginia. I do want to make a comment that we are doing all of this for Make-A-Wish, so feel free to make a donation and enjoy the panel. I'll let the ladies introduce themselves, starting with, do we have Kristen's audio for that? Awesome.
Hi everyone, my name is Kristen Nieves. I'm in Garrison Tyrannus Inferno Squad, and I'm located in Fairfax County, Virginia.
Awesome. Katie?
Hey, so I am Katie Farrell. I am from Garrison Tyrannus, and I am in Central Virginia.
I'm Heather Mason, also from Garrison Tyrannus, Inferno Squadron, also in Northern Virginia.
I'm Tasha. I'm from Dewback Ridge Garrison in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay, sorry. So a bunch of us have been trooping, or a few of us have been trooping for a while. Others have been are very new, like myself. My first question is when did you guys first encounter the 501st, and what were your thoughts about them? For me, it was in 2016. We happened to be in the UK for a family event, and my roommate Jason and I happened to notice that there was this big Star Wars celebration going on. We were able to extend our flight sit for one extra day, and we were able to attend the first day. And I remember Jason pointing out the fact that there is this costume group called the 501st, and they do events like this all the time. Like, this is just like a normal Tuesday for them, basically. And that they also go to really cool events that, support the local communities and children's events. And I thought that was really cool. And I was like, these are my kind of nerds. Like, that was my first impression. It's like, I want to be a nerd like them. Like, this is really cool. So I guess we'll play with Kristen's first encounter with them now.
I first learned about the 501st during college when I worked at GameStop, and a coworker of mine was actually a member of the 501st as a biker scout, and his costume was just so cool, and I wanted to join so badly. I wasn't really aware of the charity work that they did at the time. It was just kind of initially another opportunity for me to keep doing cosplay.
Okay, let's just go to Katie.
I was so busy with college, and I didn't really have, honestly.
Yeah, that sounds good. So the first time that I ever saw the 501st Legion, I didn't even know what they were about, anything like that. I went to the Star Wars celebration in Orlando a few years back, and I saw these people just walking around in movie accurate costumes, and I'm like, this is so amazing. Like, what in the world is this? And eventually, I asked someone and they told me that it's 501st. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I didn't want to be that person that had no idea what they were talking about. So went home, I Googled it, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like, bad guys doing good. This is amazing. I love stormtroopers. I was in and out of the hospital as a kid. So knowing that they went into the hospitals, specifically children's hospitals, just blew my mind. Like, if we had stuff like that when I was a kid, it would have made giving blood a little bit easier, So I was like, I need to figure out how I can join this organization and just give back to the community.
I think my first reaction to the 501st, I'd been in the cosplay community for a couple of years, and I had several friends who were part of the various groups, Rebel Legion, 501st. So I had been to cons, and I had seen the tables, and everyone at the tables were incredibly welcoming and encouraging and saying, hey, come over, see everyone's really cool, like, baseball cards. Everyone had baseball cards of themselves, and in their various characters, and you would just see them again walking around the con floor. And I remember seeing a really absolutely screen accurate Boba Fett, and he was talking to his friend and asking if he could get him a latte, and it was so hilariously incredible to hear that amazing mechanical sound coming out of a movie accurate Boba Fett, but he's asking for a latte. So in terms of encountering the 501st, it was a blend of really being transported into a movie setting with how incredible the costumes look, but also having that very friendly, welcoming atmosphere of how much they wanted clearly you to be a part of what they were doing. So I think it was a combination of being at cons and seeing them around, like Katie was saying, seeing them at movies, trooping at movies. So, you know, kind of amazing to be transported like that.
So my experience was actually during the Blu-ray release of the saga. God, I don't know, what was that, 10 years ago, something it seems like. So I went to Hastings is where I went to that night, and I had my Hasbro Boba Fett helmet on and was thinking, oh, I look so cool going in to pick up these Blu-rays. And the Dewback Ridge Garrison, there was probably about 10 or 15 of them in there. And I remember just thinking, wow, those dudes look awesome. And in the parking lot, who's now a good friend of mine, Jake, he had his scout trooper, and he flipped up the visor so I could see his face, and he just gave me a little wink. And I remember thinking, oh, that's so cool. That guy's so cool. And so the next time I saw them was actually at my very first comic convention at Albuquerque Comic Expo. And one of the makers is good friends with a guy who lives down here. So Moncal he had a booth set up, and my local garrison at the time, I talked to them again, and I had kind of made friends with them at that point, and they were like, go order some armor. And I just pulled the trigger on it. It was just too easy. And I thought, oh man, I totally want to be a part of this group. And then it just got better as I joined and got in.
Sorry. Tim, I think I actually cut off Kristen's response. Yes, please. I'm sorry about that, everyone.
I first learned about the 501st during college when I worked at GameStop, and a coworker of mine was actually a member of the 501st as a biker scout, and his costume was just so cool, and I wanted to join so badly. I wasn't really aware of the charity work that they did at the time. It was just kind of initially another opportunity for me to keep doing cosplay. But, you know, I was so busy with college, and I didn't really have, honestly, the money to put into, you know, really a film accurate costume at the time. So I didn't get into it until much later on. A few years ago, my husband and I wanted more opportunities to do costuming other than just at conventions. And we thought that our love of Star Wars and my love for costuming and making costumes was a great way to marriage these two hobbies. And, you know, the other benefit is just, it's not just dressing up, you know, and getting to kind of be a nerd and geek out. It's also, you know, putting those skills and all of your hard work and then seeing the way that kids and even adults light up when you walk into a room as a stormtrooper or an Imperial officer. It's just the best thing in the world to see how excited everybody gets.
Thank you for that. So that was our first encounters with the 501st, and a few of you guys gave answers as to how you got involved with it. Personally, my roommate Jason joined earlier this year, and I got to go on a ride with him during one of the parades and drive the vehicle since he wanted to be in full uniform, bucket on. And it was kind of like during the middle of that parade, like as soon as I saw this kid's face when the 501st came around the corner, and we had this big Hummer and it was all decked out. It's called the Death Star, and it's playing music and it's pumping out fog and smoke. And this kid in the middle of an interview with a news crew, he just see him stop talking and he's just like eyes focused, like hyper focused on this Death Star. And like, this woman's still trying to ask him questions, and finally she gives up and is like, okay, like I can't best the 501st. And it was in that moment that I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be the reason that a kid just stops mid conversation and is just like, oh my gosh, like I want to be that reason that he's excited. I believe Kristen also provided a response for this question. Awesome.
really the main reason I got into the 501st initially, as I mentioned, was because of my love for costuming and making my own costumes. But having the opportunity to use those skills to, you know, bring a smile to a kid that's in a hospital or a child that's been battling cancer, that is the most rewarding thing about joining, is just knowing that at the end of the day, the blood, sweat, and tears you poured into your costume and all the frustration and in some cases all the money that you spent, it really makes it all worth it in the end, because you're making somebody else's day and you're making, a fight that some, sick child is fighting that much easier because they got to see a stormtrooper, they got to see Darth Vader. There's not really anything better than that.
Katie?
Hey, so yeah, for me, I mean, it's the same thing. It's giving back to the community and just being there for the kids. I mean, we do a lot of children's hospital visits. We do a lot of cancer walks, things that kids are fighting with and dealing with. And I feel like us going to these events, like they can actually feel like normal for a little while. You know what I mean? It's like the attention isn't focused on them and their illness, and they can just enjoy being a kid and just being amazed by seeing us. So that's one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to join. I wanted to be there for the kids, and I wanted to give back to the community.
Yep. Katie's totally right on all of that, where again, you show up at these troops and it's incredible to see both the kids and the adults pulled out of whatever their lives are at that moment and just in awe of you and others in your garrison, what they're bringing, what we're sharing with them. In terms of what got me involved, so The Force Awakens came out, and I saw the most complicated, ridiculous costume on screen when Kylo Ren descends from, his ship, and I said, yes, that one. I must do that. I will do that. I will tackle that. So as ridiculous as that was, it was also a very fun challenge that I was like, yes, I'm going to do that. And that will be my first costume in the 501st. And that's going to be a way that we're going to make the kids' eyes just glow with being there with them. And just like Katie said, if it's a hospital trooper, if it's something for Make-A-Wish, something that will bring light to their life too.
So echoing what those two said, just kind of giving back to the community is definitely the biggest plus. It was kind of something that wasn't really super aware of when I first joined. I just was so hyper focused on the fact that all of these people look so cool. And I thought to myself, oh, I want to look that awesome. And when I was going to purchase that armor from Moncal at the time, originally I wanted to be a biker scout because, Jake did the little thing, and I said, oh, I want to be cool like that. And the biker scout ended up taking longer. So I kind of randomly chose the TIE pilot and ended up going into that community and just having a blast in the Jolly Roger Squadron. But I think, just the reactions that we get from not just kids, but like adults, elderly, they all are so excited. And I think that really keeps me going, because I remember when I was mesmerized, when it was magical for me, and getting to be a part of that magic has been really awesome.
Yeah, so Kristen and Heather both touched on the fact that the costumes they're really cool. They're hard to make though. And especially being females, most of these kits are made for men. And it's just the different body proportions that males have that we don't. And there's also other challenges that women face themselves. What kind of challenges have you guys run into? We'll start with Kristen's response first.
One of the biggest challenges as a woman, especially in the 501st, I think, as compared to maybe the Rebel Legion, is how hard it can be to find costume pieces that fit, whether the items are either too big or too small. Especially in the 501st, finding boots for an Imperial officer or, something along those lines, whatever the specific costume may be, is really difficult. I have like size 7 feet, so they're, I think, a little bit on the smaller end for women. But my calves are bigger. They're pretty athletic. And so finding boots that fit my tiny feet, but probably more manly sized calves is pretty much impossible without spending a lot of money on a pair of custom made boots, which I did, only for them to come back 2 sizes too big for my feet anyway. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, items from big name shops like Wampa Wear or Imperial Boots are enormous, even at the smallest size. I ordered a TIE Pilot flight suit from both stores in the smallest size that they have, and I was swimming in it, and there was no way that I could possibly alter it. I would have just had to remake the entire thing. So it's really difficult to be a woman in this costuming group, and try and shop from these big name stores because they really cater mostly towards men, and I think they're kind of missing out on a huge opportunity to make these items in women's sizing because we all want them too.
So for me, it was definitely just trying to find someone that could make armor in my size. That was the biggest difficulty for me. I'm pretty petite for a female. I'm 5 feet even. I'm also a teacher. Most kids are taller than me. I weigh 110 pounds. So after Star Wars Celebration, I'm literally on Instagram and I'm messaging people that make armor and I'm like, hey, do you think that you can make something my size? And a lot of people honestly didn't want to tackle that. They were like, no, like you're too small. Like we just don't make stuff like that. And after getting a couple of no's, someone finally sent me to my buddy Tristan. And Tristan was like, wow, yeah, you're really small. I have never tried to make something like this. He's like, but I like taking on difficult tasks. So let's go ahead and let's try it. And so he's in Arizona and I was in Florida at the time. So it was basically like he made this armor, he cut it after giving me the measurements and he sent it to me and I looked like a football player. Like I remember taking the picture and I'm like, I don't think this is going to work, man. And he's like, well, just send it back to me. Not a big deal. Send it back to him. He cut it down a little bit more. And that was awesome. But in the meantime, I really wanted to join. And so kind of like Tasha, I was like, all right, so this TIE Fighter pilot seems pretty easy for the RS Prop Master. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to order that. And everything is great, but my flight suit that I ordered was extra small and I get it and it literally just swallows me and I'm like, yeah, this is not going to work. So I had to go and get that tailored to size. So it is definitely a difficult task. Yeah, I mean, most men are definitely taller than 5 feet. So I feel like gear is definitely it's geared more towards the men and not the women. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, I have to just like what Katie was saying, there's a challenge with the sizing. I have to give a shout out to a lot of the Facebook groups that have been helpful in terms of trying to work with sourcing pieces and helping create pieces and having really incredible makers who will work with you ultimately, like Katie found. Like we've been saying, boots, sizing of boots for people with muscular calves. And for me, unfortunately, I am not Adam Driver size. I am not 6'3". So for me, it's boots and boots that accommodate lifts. So there's all sorts of things that you're doing in order to make the costume more accurate, get that little bit of extra edge. Like I said, I'm not 6'3", unfortunately. I wish I were. Another thing that I found as a challenge is, have you ever tried to create a costume or CRL from a Funko Pop? I have, okay? Dryden Voss looking at the back of a costume, front of the costume, okay? And you're sitting there, if you have a love and a desire to make a costume for a more obscure character, you're sitting there scouring the internet, trying to pull these images up. And yes, you're going to the back of the Funko Pop and being like, well, how do these seams work? How does this fall? Can I sit here and translate this into something real? So that's another challenge. If God help you, if you love an obscure character and you're using a Funko Pop to try to create that costume.
Boots. It's always the boots, right? The boots are I think probably the number one challenge for women in the costuming clubs. Is just that, especially some of the costumes have custom made boots, and that's great because you can, submit your sizes. But, when you have things that are kind of generic, like the TIE Pilot or the TK, there are boots that are kind of already existing in the world, and you just kind of have to hope that you find your right size. I got really fortunate with my very first kit. My Mon Cal TIE Pilot fit so amazingly right away. Just in the chest armor was perfect. The flight suit was great. And the hardest thing I had a time with was trying to find World War II jack boots in a size women's 7.5. And that was really difficult for me. But then my second costume that I ever tackled was I decided to make the First Order Stormtrooper armor. And you can only trim certain armor so much before it's not approvable anymore. Like the First Order armor has, like, on the forearms has a little notch up here, and it has also something on the wrist right here. So if you trim it too far this way, then you're losing the box here. If you trim it too far this way, you're losing that notch, and then you don't have accurate armor anymore. And so that's pretty tough to, I guess, not really be considered. And I don't necessarily think that, you can fault a maker for that, but there's definitely a large demographic of women who I think, if they could start finding things in their size, would just, instantly buy it. So, it's kind of hard sometimes, for sure. And the flight suits, I feel bad for people because they sag really low. And my problem was actually that it fit nice everywhere except for on the hips. It was a little tight right there. So
Yeah, and especially when people are new, or women in general, there is a bit of a fear of posting things into the general forums, because a lot of when I first started, I posted about boots and I got a lot of responses back, and try this place, try this location. And when I did, yeah, they're great if you have normal size feet. I am a size 6 in women's, so basically a size 3 in men's. They don't have World War II jack boots that small. They didn't put children that young into it, and it's hard. But there are women dedicated forums out there, such as the Desert Foxes, who do the Sand Troopers and the Black Widow Squadron. And actually we have Tasha, who it was one of the first female detachment leaders for TIE pilots. And Tasha, like, can you maybe elaborate, like, why these forums are really important to have for women to have a safe place to ask questions?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, a lot of people kind of, well, not too many, but some people kind of get the wrong idea. Why is there a women's only group? Why isn't there a men's only group? And the reason being is primarily because the women's group is a great space for us to discuss those types of issues. And just like you said, you can kind of post, hey, I have really small feet, where could I find some boots? And you just kind of have people in the general setting say, oh, you can buy from here. And they don't really stop to think about what you're saying. These places don't work. I don't have big enough feet to fit in these. And so that's kind of, I believe Black Widows is actually the first all-female subgroup in the Legion, and it's been around for years. Targ, the original detachment leader of the JRS, started kind of all of that. And the Black Widows has become a place where women can, say, what's a good flight suit maker? Does anyone here, custom make flight suits? And you can get access to information like that. Or, how do you deal with more feminine problems while you're trooping? So it kind of is a space where people can discuss those type of options, and you're in a group where other people have experienced that same problem and have that information.
And Katie and Heather, did you guys have anything that you wanted to elaborate on the all women's forum posts?
I think it's just a great safe place to be. I mean, honestly, like, sometimes you may feel dumb because you're a female and you don't know how men are going to respond to you. Women are a little bit more gentle. I hate to say that, but we definitely are. I mean, we think about feelings before we respond to things. So if we feel like, I mean, I know I've posted in the Black Widows before, and I'm like, hey, this may be a dumb question, but like, how do you wear your hair when you wear your hat? You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to get feedback, and the women are just great. They're like, oh yeah, you can wear it like this and like that. So I think it's just a safe place to ask questions and just get really good feedback.
Yep. Just what Katie said. It would be, you know, it's just a great space for everyone to sit there and be like, okay, I feel like I can get the information I need for the costume that I need to make. And that it's just a welcoming, more comfortable space. Anything to allow people to feel more comfortable dipping their toes into something that is scary, that is intimidating, that's something that they've maybe never tried before. And that would be, you know, it would be everything to someone who is maybe terrified to do this. And instead it's like, okay, here's a welcoming group of people that isn't going to sit here and make me feel like I've just asked a very stupid question, or, you know, won't shame me for not knowing this or that or the other immediately right off the bat. So I think they're incredibly important. And thank you, Tasha, for being a pioneer.
And so another thing about women is that we are mostly dominated by men, but in the movies we have strong women characters like Rey, and we have Leia. So little girls are now starting to understand, like, they are also, they can do these things too. How important is it that how important do you think it is that when you are trooping and you remove your bucket, that these little girls get to see a female in these roles, that even the ones that are usually men, like stormtroopers, Vaders, Kylo Rens? I think Kristen has a response to this one.
I think it's really, really important for young girls to see women out costuming. You know, I kind of grew up as what was called back then a tomboy. I was super into Jurassic Park, super into Star Wars, super into video games, and I'm still into all of those things. But you know, it was hard because there were no other girls my age that liked the things that I liked. So I definitely had pretty much only boys as my group of friends, and I didn't really have any role models that, you know, I could kind of look up to that liked the same things I liked. You know, my sisters were both very like girly, did makeup, you know, and I wasn't into any of those things. I didn't do makeup until college. So I think it's really important that, you know, at like a troop or a convention, you know, little girls can see all of these strong, iconic female characters like Rey and Leia. But I think even cooler than that is if a little girl is at one of these events and she sees a TIE pilot take off their helmet or a stormtrooper take off their helmet and sees that there's a girl underneath it. And that just, if I could only imagine if I was a little girl and I saw that, it would just blow my mind. And, you know, the idea that you can take your helmet off and a little girl can see like, hey, you can do this too, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise, I think that's awesome.
So I feel like I have a really long response to this. Well, I grew up, you know, I was a tomboy. So, you know, I started skateboarding when I was 5. I was climbing trees. And I mean, being in school, I was told so many times like, oh, you should really go play with the girls. You should really do what the girls are doing. And I'm like, no, like, I'd rather hang out with the boys. I'd rather, you know, play sports and climb trees and scrape up my knees. So I feel like I kind of grew up being told that like girls can't do certain things. Luckily, my parents were amazing growing up, and they were like, no, like you can do absolutely anything that you want to do in life. And that's kind of how like I've gone throughout life. So yeah, I think that it is super important for girls to know that, hey, just because you're a girl doesn't mean that you can't play a stormtrooper. You know, it doesn't matter what role that is, you are still welcome to do that. You can still do that. One of the biggest things that really hit me hard, I mean, it actually made me cry, is we do a 5K Ask Walk, and it is for childhood cancer. And if the children are survivors, they actually have a t-shirt that they walk around with, so you know that they are survivors and they beat cancer. 2 girls, I was in my TIE fighter pilot, and they're like, I think that's a girl. I think that's a girl. And they come up to me and they're like, are you a girl? And I'm like, I am a girl. And they're like, we knew it. Oh my gosh, can we get a picture with you? And I am like bawling underneath my helmet because I'm like, these girls have beat the odds, like they beat cancer and they want a picture with me. Like I want a picture with them. Like this is amazing. And I think it's just so important. Like I think they knew right then and there they could do anything. Like you can be a female underneath that helmet and anything is possible. So yes, definitely. I think it's important for girls to know that there is a female underneath there.
Yep, absolutely. Everything that Katie just said. I too have a story that's a little similar to that. One of my favorite troops is Aaron Scare, and a year or so ago, I was there as Kylo Ren, and there was a little girl waiting in line to take photos with us, and a friend of mine overheard her say, "Well, you know, girls can't be Kylo Ren," and my friend turned to her and said, "Do you want to know? You want in a little secret?" And the girl's just, you know, what secret? And he says, "That Kylo Ren is a girl," and the girl's eyes just were bursting out of her head. She just had this moment of, oh my God. And so what other friends had come up to me during that troop and said that the little girl was going up to anyone who would listen and be like, "Yeah, you know what? That Kylo Ren over there, that's a girl and she's cool." And I was just like, forget it. I'm good. I'm good for the rest of the year. So I do think it's important for those times when, you know, if there's someone out there being like, "Oh, girls can't do this," it's like, yeah, we can. A girl is standing up there as Kylo Ren and scaring the daylights out of some other poor kids.
Yeah, kind of echoing what you all have said. It's really important for girls to see that they can kind of be in this traditionally, you know, the male role. And I think that kind of expands their horizons even outside of this make-believe world. You know, it says, oh, you can be a soldier or a doctor or a scientist or, you know, anything that is kind of traditionally male. And I think those roles are kind of shifting, you know, as we progress as a society. And I love when I'm, you know, I try to kind of stand with swagger, I guess is the best way of saying it. And so when a girl comes up and asks, "Hey, can I take a picture?" And I say, "Yeah, of course." And you just see them turn around just like, "That's a girl." And it's super awesome, but it's almost even more cool when little boys do it, because I think that this kind of sets the tone for young boys growing up to recognize that, oh, women can do this too. So I think that, you know, hopefully they can apply that to their peers as girls like Star Wars in this, you know, newer generation. Like, oh yeah, girls can like Star Wars too. There's girls that dress up as stormtroopers. And I think that's really important for little boys to see as well.
I think that's actually an amazing point, Tasha, about, you know, voicing that women can also do these things and setting that tone, especially when they're younger, and that way they can really process these things as they get older. Like women do just the same cool stuff as you guys do. Like don't discount it or don't count us out yet. Before we move on to the next question, I do want to make an announcement that we are supporting Make-A-Wish Foundation for Virginia. Please make sure that you donate to the group, and we're hoping to hit our $5,000 limit by the end of the weekend. Moving forward, though, I'm new at trooping, and I'm slowly starting to learn a lot of tips that I could like to pass on to other troopers. For me, my favorite thing that I learned this summer was Gold Bond makes a spray. And when you are doing something like a TIE pilot and you are in this little onesie and it is hot, spraying that on your body before you put on the either the unitard or whatever two-piece you use is awesome. It starts absorbing the sweat. It takes away any possible funky smells that might arise during the day. And it keeps you cool. Do you guys have anything that you like to do, or any tips, tricks that you'd like to pass on to other members? I believe Kristen has a response first.
Hands down, my transportation security officer is one of my favorite costumes. It's the first costume that I made completely on my own for the 501st within a month of the CRL being released. It's a really, really big personal accomplishment for me. It required a lot of pattern alteration and kind of figuring things out, and I'm really proud of it. I wore it to Celebration Chicago last year, and I was so nervous that no one would have any idea who I was because the character only appears in solo for a few minutes. But I had so many people compliment the costume, and so many women came up to me and asked me about it and asked how I sourced the pieces or what I used. And I had a lot of really funny interactions with Kira and Han cosplayers, which was really, really fun. And since that happened, I've actually become a founding member of the Facebook group for the costume. It's called the Coaxium Squad, and it's been so rewarding to be able to help other troopers find the resources, the patterns, the pieces that they need to make their own transportation security officer. And funny stories, I actually met Heather. I think because of this costume, I knew of Heather beforehand, but I actually met Heather at Celebration because of this costume, because she came up and complimented me on my top stitching, and I legitimately almost cried because I was just so happy that someone that was so talented with costuming would come up and compliment my costume. It was just the best moment ever.
So for me, luckily, I can deal with the heat pretty well. So when it's hot outside, I don't really have issues like that. But I do have some fans that I have installed into some of my helmets. That's a really good way that you can cool down if you're extremely hot. For me, it's the colder weather. I do not do well in the cold at all. So I don't really have any tips for the cold weather except I became a Jawa because you can wear sweatpants and stuff underneath, and you have these huge, comfy, furry boots that you can put your feet in. And it keeps you warm when you're really cold, and you can swap out the gloves. Like I have gloves that I can wear in the summer, gloves that I can wear in the wintertime. So that's pretty much how I get through just switching costumes, and when it's hot, having the fan and the helmets.
To briefly piggyback to what Kristen was saying, her Kira is spectacular and her top stitching is incredibly spectacular. So she's amazing. In terms of tips and tricks, trooping wisdom, just you got to take more breaks than you think you need. The drop off between being okay and not okay is so steep. It's a cliff, and I've gone off that cliff. Even if it means hiding in the bathroom for a few minutes with your bucket off. My Kylo Ren bucket, it's too small to have the little beautiful fans. I envy you all with your fans. I want fans in that thing, but you just need air. Take more air, more water than you think you need, because you might be surprised at how quickly you go from thinking you're fine to heat stroke. So for me, it's definitely a cold weather costume. Most of the costumes I have are cold weather costumes. So the heat is something I always have to be very aware of.
So I just kind of wing it all the time. The TIE pilot in the summer can be really, really hot because you're just in black flight suit. And the TK is actually great during the summer because I don't know if it's the white armor reflecting the sun off of you, but I always feel fine in the TK when I'm trooping it. But a local trooper here, Lore, a friend of mine, he actually has MS, so he gets overheated a lot. And one of his trooping tricks is that he wears those vests that have the ice packs all inside of it. And I've seen a lot of other people do that as well. For the TIE pilot, there's not so much you can do there, at least for me. I have the biggest bucket in the Legion probably, and I still don't have fans installed because I just don't feel like it. But the cold weather, I actually have a second set of soft parts for the winter because I have gloves that are a size bigger and a flight suit that's a size bigger, so I can accommodate wearing thermals underneath and an extra pair of gloves.
And of course, always making sure you staying plenty hydrated, because it's always good to not pass out, especially in the heat. Real quick, so favorite costumes to cosplay, and does anybody have anything coming up? Personally, I love the TIE pilot, but I'm really excited. Jason's going to be helping me with this the snow trooper. His is on display right now behind me. So I'm really excited for that, especially as it starts to get cooler. I don't do well in the cold. We're actually going to skip Kristen's answer for this because I accidentally messed that one up a little bit. So hers is actually the transport. My bad. Katie.
Yeah, so when I first joined the Legion, I was so excited to be a TK, you know, a stormtrooper, but it's not the easiest to troop in, honestly, especially when you're so little and your armor's kind of like, you know, squeaking together. But the TIE pilot is my absolute favorite. Especially, we have to do a lot of parking lot changes, so you know, I can just wear like shorts and a t-shirt, and then I can just pull the flight suit on, just put everything on and go. And you can actually sit in that. That's like the biggest thing. You can sit down. The thing, I'm not working on anything currently, but I would love to be a shore trooper. I just think they are so cool. So that is definitely on my bucket list.
Pun intended, right?
Hey.
So before Celebration got canceled, my plans were to have the second of the two boss costumes for in Solo. So I have what they call the Crimson Dawn First Light Voss. I was working on Savarine Voss, you know, the nice one with the deep V and the white shirt open. So that's on my list. You know, don't tell anyone because, you know, we're supposed to be the bad guys, but I got a Jyn Erso in the works. So it's like pretty excited for her. Shout out to Stardust Sisters on Facebook. Again, you know, tying it back around to Facebook groups being welcoming and helping you with pieces. So yeah, some good and some bad in the works.
My favorite is TIE Pilot, hands down. The First Order TK is fun, but even Reserve Pilot, I'm just like, I'm not too keen on showing my face very much when I troop. I love kind of the mystery. I just like the armored TIE Pilot. It just looks really cool. But I am notorious for buying armor kits and then never making them. So I'm actually in the process of selling 3 kits that I have that I've never made. I've been keeping them around forever. I have the Cara Dune. I was going to work on that. But then, you know, at the time back in December, I thought, well, I'm probably not going to have very much time to work on it. But then, you know, then you get elected as detachment leader, and there's so much admin work that I'm doing behind the scenes that I just was like, I don't have time. I'm never going to have time for this. So I think the one kit that I want to do, so my best friend passed away earlier this year in May, and she always wanted to do a scout trooper. And she had her armor and everything. She just didn't complete it. And so I think that probably would be the next costume that I would like to do, just like in a way of honoring her, I guess. But I think that's probably the only other one I'll do.
And we are monitoring the chat. So yes, the pilots have pockets, which are fantastic. We need more costumes with pockets. And if anybody has any little tips, tricks to put pockets in things like the sand troopers, please message me because I need that. Moving on, because our community is mostly male dominated, has anybody ever experienced some form of discrimination based on your gender, or have you felt like any of your friends have been discriminated against? We'll play Kristen's answer first.
Even though I've been really lucky and I haven't experienced any personal instances of discrimination, I've seen and heard a lot of stories about discrimination within the 501st against both women and people that are non-binary. It's been disappointing to see that happen, and I feel like a lot of it tends to happen on the internet where people have some level of anonymity and can hide behind a screen. But I've also heard of stories of other 501st members gatekeeping non-male identifying troopers, almost as if they were testing their dedication to Star Wars or seeing if they were actually real fans. And I'm grateful that I haven't had to experience this. I think I've had a lot of great troops, and a lot of the people that I associate with are really great and open-minded and kind people. But it absolutely exists, and I do think it's really something that needs to be addressed in the organization as a whole, and it needs to start from the ground up with each garrison and squad, and it needs to ripple up to the organization as a whole.
I joined the Legion. I was actually a little nervous. One, I'm a female. Two, I'm gay. So I didn't know how people were going to react to that. I feel like we are kind of at an age where people are very, very accepting of it, more so than they used to be. But we also have people who are not accepting of it at all. Like, so I was a little bit intimidated joining for the fact that, you know, I am female and I am gay. So, but fortunately, I have had men that have taken me underneath their wing, and they have just been very positive, very supportive, giving me tips and tricks and helped me out with my costuming. So I feel very fortunate because I know a lot of people do not have the same stories. So.
Yeah, I have a very dear friend who was actually harassed out of the Legion for being non-binary by a faction whose intent was to cause discord and mayhem. They experienced just open, blatant transphobic hate speech, just abusive, accusatory, just demeaning language. They reported it. They were reporting this aggressive bullying for literally the better part of the year. Nothing was done about it. They were then targeted and retaliated against for standing up against the hate speech against their person. And they were hounded and bullied and made to feel unwelcome in this group that really had been a real home to them. And they had loved this group with their whole heart. And that has been one of the hardest things to witness and to see happening in a group that, you know, we've been talking about for the better part of an hour, that we have had great experiences with. But there is you know, a dark, bigoted side that needs to be rooted out.
So I haven't really experienced too much discrimination myself. In fact, I feel as though I've had a lot of really positive opportunities in the Legion. But you know, we've all kind of seen the discrimination, whether it's you know, a stereotypical joke about women, or even, you know, race or sexuality. Any of that can kind of be, you know, that real world discrimination, because there's so many members worldwide, does carry over. Primarily what I see as far as when it comes to women trooping is that, you know, kind of making suggestive comments towards the women. And, you know, it's really important to say that we actually have a lot of really amazing men in the Legion. And I actually see them starting to kind of rein that behavior in more with their friends, where, you know, they're saying, hey man, that's not cool. Don't, you know, don't say that to her or whatever. But sometimes it's just those kind of passive aggressive, usually sexual remarks about women that is tough, because, you know, then you speak out against it and, or say, you know, hey, stop saying that. And then all of a sudden you're a baby, or, you know, then they might hate you or target you or talk about you behind your back because of that. And so I've definitely seen it happen, and fortunately it's few and far between, but, you know, when it does happen, it does really feel much bigger than, you know, the kindness that you're seeing.
I mean, just like every group, it has its goods and it has its bads. It's really nice to see how people are starting to change, how they are starting to recognize the things that they say may seem like a joke to them, but maybe it may be taken differently by somebody else. Especially, we don't see each other on a regular basis. Most people see each other only when they get to troop, and so sometimes it's hard to understand, like, that's actually not okay to say. So it is great to see people, starting to stick up for not only themselves, but their other troop members. We do need to remember that we are ultimately a family. You may not agree with everything that your family does, but they are your family. And what kind of things do you think that the 501st, or even just within your own specific organization, could do to change the way people feel and to make them feel more welcomed and safe? I think Kristen has an answer to this first, and then we'll go to Katie.
The motto of the 501st is bad guys doing good, and this really needs to extend not just to the charity work that we do, but to one another as troopers. We all need to leave this world better than we found it, and we need to love each other no matter who we are. The world is really scary, especially right now, and at the end of the day, we're really just a bunch of grown-ups dressing up in plastic and being a Star Wars to make people smile. It's really not that serious. When you see injustice, call it out. Don't abandon your fellow trooper when they're being bullied or made to feel unwelcome or like they're alone. Call that crap out as soon as you see it, because if you don't, that person's just going to keep doing it because they're going to think it's okay. And it's definitely not okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you see someone like bullying, call them out, take them aside and just be like, hey, like that's not cool. I think the best thing we can do is just be open and accepting, and just be supportive. We are a family. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted to join. So,
like everyone's saying, calling out the behavior, just we have to be a safer space for LGBTQ plus people. We've got to do a better job protecting and standing up for our fellow troopers in these situations. I mean, like developing explicit anti-discrimination policies and better anonymous reporting procedures, like clearly defined sets of just accountable action steps to be taken to, remove bias. We've talked about how great the inclusive groups are. Special shout out to Pride Squadron, has been such a group, been a great job of being welcoming, inclusive, wonderful group of people. And we have to use our voting power within the Legion to lift our troopers up and be part of that change. Like we said, even if it means standing up and pulling back the curtain on the ugliness that we're seeing, whether it's on a local level or on a higher level. I just would want that for this group.
I feel really lucky with my local garrison, because my local garrison are just incredible in kind of every capacity. And, a lot of the stuff that I see on the Legion forums and whatnot. And I think there kind of needs to be more of like a zero tolerance policy. I think sometimes we don't realize what we say is hurtful to people. And, our reaction is to say, I was just joking, or I was just kidding, or just teasing you. But you don't really get to decide whether or not you've hurt someone's feelings or you've made them uncomfortable. And I think that's important to acknowledge that, if someone says you've made them uncomfortable or made them feel unsafe, then you don't get to say otherwise. I think it's really important that trooping stays trooping, because there's a lot of outside world views, cultures, all sorts of stuff that don't always mix well. And I think it's important that, when you're in trooping, you kind of stay there. It's, you're focused on dressing up and doing stuff for the community, and kind of keep all that stuff out the window. If you don't agree with someone's lifestyle or whatever, that's your prerogative, but keep it in the back of your mind. And so I think that's a problem, is that there isn't much of a policy for the tolerance on stuff like that. It's just kind of like, oh, well, don't worry about them, just ignore them, instead of someone getting reprimanded for poor behavior.
And it is important, if you think about it, most of the issues that we have are not within our own groups most of the time. It is from outside members, from people who are not within the 501st, from bystanders, or just viewers. And we understand that. I love seeing that there are people who are willing to stand up for anyone. And if anyone's watching this and they feel like they either see something or something gets posted towards them on either the forums or any of the social media groups, and you're not comfortable with saying something, reach out to one of the five of us. We've all agreed that if you are uncomfortable or you see something that you don't think is right, and it's understandable you don't want to say something because you don't want to be viewed as either the person who's like, always feeling uptight, and you don't want to feel like you're not going to be invited to other troops. I don't care. If I see something that's wrong, like, I will gladly stick up for you. Message me, send me a Facebook message, message me on the forums, whatever you need. And myself or any of the other four ladies here will gladly be there for you. Just a little PSA. It's something that we are working towards. Inclusion, not only just, for the better good. And if you are going to bully somebody out of it, you're not doing anything good for your cause. We all joined the 501st because we wanted to do good and we wanted to be the good in our communities. So before posting that message on a forum, think about how is this going to affect your troop? Because that's one less person who may not show up to the next event. And, sometimes you only have 3 or 4 members that can show up. Now you're down to 2. Like, just be a family, be nice. Since I've been a Star Wars fan for a while, and there's a lot of things I love about Star Wars. When I moved in with Jason, we started collecting a lot of Funkos. This is a portion of our Star Wars Funkos. We actually have Star Wars stuff on all of our walls. Everyone, yes, Heather. Everyone has something that they kind of cherish, some special, either a prop or, a photo from an event. My personal favorite is actually, it was a gift a few years ago from Jason, and it was Huttslayer, sorry. Huttslayer Leia. And it's actually signed by Carrie. You can't really see it here. And it came with paperwork. And this really, I have held on to this, and it's usually posted on a wall, but today it's in my arms. And everyone has something special. And it's just, my best friend gave this to me. And it took him a while to find it, because he knew that it was something that meant a lot to me. I think Kristen has the response to this, and then everyone else can share.
My favorite piece of Star Wars memorabilia is a painting done by Kat Staggs for Celebration London back in 2007. I was able to purchase this, actually. It was one of the limited run prints this past AwesomeCon in 2019. It's this really awesome propaganda poster of a TIE pilot standing on top of a TIE fighter, and in huge letters it says "No shields, all guts." And it's this really awesome piece of art, and it's called "They Were Expendable." And if you search it on Google, you can actually find a digital image of it on her DeviantArt page. But the reason it's so special to me, besides how badass this picture is I shared a picture of it to the Jolly Roger Squadron Facebook page, and people started commenting, and I learned that the model for this painting was a 501st member that had actually passed away. His name was Mike Batfrog Phelps, and people started commenting on the post, sharing their interactions and their troops with Mike, and it just made it feel like I actually had been there and trooped with him, and it just made the piece that much more special to me. Like, I had this beautiful piece of art as it was, but it was this piece of art that memorialized another trooper in my own detachment, and it's really special.
So for me, it's my EFX helmet. This is what started everything for me. So this was actually, I saw it on sale at GameStop after, I guess it was right before I went to Star Wars Celebration, and I was like, I'm going to start a Facebook account, The Tiny Stormtrooper, and I am just going to wear this helmet And like, that's what it's going to be. I'm going to go to different places. I'm going to get pictures. I never thought that it would turn into me going to Celebration, me joining the 501st Legion. But yeah, for me, it's the EFX helmet. That's where everything started. So it's super important to me.
I love that. In terms of props, so my Crimson Dawn ring here, again, part of my CRL. Shout out to Todd Blatt for this beautiful, beautiful thing. I remember reaching out to him. He makes this incredible rose resistance ring, and I reached out to him and I said, you know, once Solo came out and you know, the Dryden Voss, you know, splinter was in my brain and my heart, and I said, you know, would you be able to make this thing? And of course, you know, he's genius and made it. For telling Celebration stories, you know, I debuted my Voss at Celebration 2019, and I remember I had the incredible pleasure of meeting Paul Bettany in Voss, and he had this unbelievable reaction to seeing me as Voss, and I was just sort of, my mind was blown. And then I had, later on that night, we're all eating, and I had people blowing up my phone because he had put a selfie of the two of us. So when I went for his autograph, he put a selfie of the selfie we had done on his Instagram stories, and it says, "Heather, thanks for coming, amazing effort." And everyone started just blowing up my phone. So it's not a prop, it's not something, you know, physically tangible, but this is, you know, apologies to anyone listening who's like, oh Jesus, there she goes again. She won't shut up about this, but this is just one of my most cherished memories, where again, the sort of everything that goes into, you know, the angst and the creation of a costume like this and love for a character sort of culminates in this amazing moment. And so I have that, and that's one of my most cherished possessions, if you will.
So I have two, and one of them is actually an item that my son gave to me when he was about 7. So my son has a Jawa costume. He's part of the Galactic Academy. Shout out to my friend Tiffany. She makes great Jawa costumes, and she made his for him. And so he got a little TIE Pilot Lego and a little Jawa Lego that he added the shorter legs onto, and then he put like a girl's Lego head with a little ponytail that he painted green because my hair is usually green, and he gave them to me because they were supposed to be representing myself and my son, and so that's always been really special to me, and I actually keep it on my nightstand. But another item, I guess, is an article of clothing. My two best friends and I, we went to Star Wars Celebration in London a few years ago, and we started off in Scotland, and we went to like England and Wales, and everywhere we went, we were trying different fish and chips. And so it kind of became this thing on the trip as we were eating fish and chips everywhere we could. And so when we got to Star Wars Celebration in London at the end of our trip, we were at the Star Wars Celebration store, and we walked in, and all three of us just stopped in our tracks because there in front of us was a t-shirt with Admiral Akbar's fish and chips. And we were like, we have to buy this. And so we all three, you know, this is one of my best friends that passed away earlier this year, but all three of us were constantly wearing that shirt all the time. And I try not to wear it too much because I can't get another one, but it's definitely one of my favorite items.
I love how much Star Wars has brought so many people together. There is a question from the chat where somebody is asking if has anybody had any experiences where they've met somebody that they were cosplaying as. Personally, I have never been to a convention because I decided to join in the middle of a pandemic. It seemed like the good idea to me. Kristen won't be able to answer the question, so we'll go up to Katie first.
No, I mean, unless you're counting like Star Wars Celebration and like seeing these awesome stormtroopers walk around, you're just like starstruck. You're like, yeah, that's what I want to do. But other than that, no.
Yeah, for me, like I said, yeah, that dovetails right into meeting Paul Bettany again, like it was one of those things where, he was just, he was meeting everyone. And, I was so anxious. I was so anxious about meeting him because this costume meant so much to me, mattered so much. I wanted to just do it justice. And I remember walking up to him in, waiting for him to, he was, being very kind and generous with his time and talking to people, and they were leaving. He turned around, he saw me, and he literally just went, "Oh my God." And he spun around, and I'm sitting there like just screaming inside, little possum screams as, my brain is just shrieking at me. He's like, "Oh my God, you look amazing." And he was just like losing his mind. And then, when I saw him for his autograph, he was asking all these questions about the costume. And I have silicone 3D paint that I put on my face to get the Angry Boss look. And so that was really one of the most extraordinary experiences, because I do think so many of these actors, it's like, they love Star Wars. Like we love Star Wars, and them being able to be a part of it. Like one of my favorite stories about Paul as Voss is he literally texted Ron Howard to be in this movie. He wanted to be in the Star Wars so bad, where he's like, "I'm going to text my BFF Ron Howard, who's directing this movie now, and I'm going to get myself into a Star Wars." So, it's amazing to see these, these actors. And again, back to your point about meeting them is, they love Star Wars like we love Star Wars. They can be kids about this just like we're kids about this. And that's really incredible to see. And I was so lucky and blessed to witness that too.
You definitely get a lot of opportunities to meet different celebrities as the 501st member. Like I've met a lot of people. As far as like anyone who has my costume, I think on a technicality, John Boyega, because he was a First Order Stormtrooper. So I guess on a technicality that counts, but I don't think I've actually ever met a TIE pilot, which is kind of a bummer.
We'll just add that to the bucket list. Another question from the chat was, what is your favorite event that you have attended? I'm going to add to that, and what is the one that you look forward to doing? For me, since I've gotten to do a lot of parades, which are awesome because we get to cheer up these kids who are in the middle of a pandemic, especially when they finish all their chemo treatments, and now they can't ring the bell and have the normal party that all their friends have gotten to have. So being able to do that for me is super rewarding. The one thing I really look forward to, hopefully next year, is the Air and Scare, I believe it's called, where they go up to the Air Museum, and it's a Halloween event for the kids. I'm going to say it's for the kids. Let's be honest. The adults just are lucky to have kids and get to go, or just going to go as adults and be kids. I can't wait to do that. And again, Kristen won't be able to answer this one, but Katie?
Yeah, so I'm excited about Air and Scare too. So whenever we can do that, I was unable to do that last year, but the Ask 5K walk is always my absolute favorite. It's like I was saying before, it's the childhood cancer. So it's really cool to see the kids out there doing their walk, and especially the survivors in the shirts. They're just, they just bring me so much joy, and they make me feel like, all right, we're doing the right thing. So yeah.
Katie, I want to do that walk.
Yes.
We're doing the walk. Got to do the walk. I'm super into it. I love the sound of that in terms of like things that I would like to do. I want to do the walk that Katie's talking about. Parades. I've heard so many wonderful things about the parades. I would love to do one of those. This one at Alexandria, I think that's apparently just amazing. Yes, to Air and Scare. It's one of the most unbelievable things. I'm a huge fan of anything and everything space related, and of course the museum itself. Udvar Hazy is just the most extraordinary place. And before the troop even starts, you've got 6 hours of incredible troop, but before the troop even starts, you're taking a photo with like 200 of your fellow troopers across all the legions. It's like you've got Rebel Legion, Mando Mercs, droid builders, everyone's there, and suddenly you're taking photos in front of Discovery, the Discovery. You just sit there. It's like is this real? Pinch me. And then, you're just wandering around the entire museum. And of course, the even, the museum docents are sitting there like, this is the coolest thing ever. Oh my gosh. They're just as stoked as we are. And then you see the kids running around and, it's just, you're just wandering around like, I'm going to walk over here and, you're there for 20 minutes because 60 people want to take your photo. Like it's unbelievable. And again, like you said, it's trick or treat for the adults too. So that's one of the most extraordinary. I've been very lucky to have invited many of my friends come from out of town, way out of town, Colorado, New York, because it's such a special troop. So Aaron Scare for sure, but I'm definitely going to do the walk that Katie's talking about because that's going to be awesome.
So we have a big event here in Albuquerque called Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, and it is the largest balloon event in the world. Sorry, my dogs are back there. Largest hot air balloon event in the world, and so we've been doing it since the beginning of Darth Vader, and they actually had a special. Sorry, I have helmet hair today. They had a special event this morning just for the troopers, since we can't really troop balloon fiesta. It's such a huge event, but it is such an adrenaline rush. There are thousands of people swarming to take photos with you during this event, and it is just wild. The first time I trooped it, I was frozen. I was like, what do I do? My helmet's fogged up, because you go at like 4:00 in the morning for 10 days straight, and it's just intense. I do know that I have a bucket list troop, and I really want to go to Sinulog, the parade, the big parade in Cebu in the Philippines. That's one that a lot of troopers in all of the Asian countries go to, and I think that one looks like a blast. But it's apparently another super extreme troop where you're just trooping for hours or doing the parade for hours straight, and just it gets so hot from what I hear, and people are dehydrated, and it just sounds like a lot of fun. So I think that would be one I'd really like to do.
And we have one more that we're going to answer from the chat. And the question is, what would you say to someone who is considering joining the 501st to help them understand why it's been a positive experience for you? As far as my answer is that what we were talking about earlier with discrimination is it's not something that we experience regularly. It is most everyone in the 501st, I have noticed, I mean, not even just in my garrison, I'm talking about like when I post on anything on the 501st, I have gotten the most positive feedback. I asked a question like, what do you guys work out to? Like, what kind of music? And I got a great recommendation for this guy who does a bunch of Star Wars remixes that now I lift to. And it's a family that you now have not only in your direct area, but across the world. And for the most part, I would say like 99.98% of those people want to see everyone succeed. They want to see everyone do well, and they want to help, and they want to teach everyone. And from that answer, I'm going to push it on over to Katie.
I'm going to piggyback off of that. Like I said, like I have not had any bad experiences. Everyone that I've reached out to, I mean, I'm talking about like sending people DMs on Instagram, like, hey, so I want to join, people could honestly just be like, this chick, nah, but no, like they were awesome. They gave me tips. They tried to send me in the right direction. Like I have friends in all different states because we are a family. People want to help out if you have questions. Like, honestly, it's silly not to ask because so many people are so willing to help you. And it's insane the friendships that you create. And like, I know that if I wanted to make a road trip going down the East Coast, I could absolutely probably stay at all these people's houses. I have some friends in South Carolina that are like, when we can troop again, like we want you to come down and we want you to be a guest. And that's another thing. Like it opens up this opportunity to go to different states and actually troop with different garrisons. So it's pretty awesome. I say if you are thinking about joining, absolutely join and reach out to someone.
Yep, absolutely piggybacking on all that. It's been really extraordinary, the amount of friends that I've made, across the world, and we are in a very unique position that we literally can use our fandom, a fandom that we love, to support charity organizations that there are very few other opportunities you have like this where it's like, I love Star Wars. I can dress up as Star Wars and do charity and bring joy to someone else's life in various ways, whether it's, again, we're in a virtual environment, so it's virtual troops. The most extraordinary thing I've seen is, someone's going to get into his full Darth Vader kit and he's getting on his Zoom like we all are. And he's, surprising a young boy for his birthday, or, a young girl or whomever. It just really, there's an extraordinary chance for us to do so much, to bring so much joy to other people, and again to have these incredible friendships that you do. Just, again, I have to give an incredible shout out to my Garrison Tyrannus. From the very beginning, they have just been so encouraging. It was never don't do this. It was always like, why aren't you already doing this with us? Why aren't you already here? We've been nagging you, not nagging, but it's like, we've been encouraging you. We've been welcoming you. We've been like, please come out and do this. Everyone, I really do. Everyone in my Garrison, they're just the most extraordinary friends. And, the types that, when you see them at a con, you're leaping into each other's arms for hugs. So no, and I think that this is absolutely for, if there's any group that has issues, they're worth fighting, and they're worth fighting against to make this a better place. Some of the issues that we brought up, it's like, we can fix these. We can work together to smooth out the rougher edges. We can make this, even better than it is before. And I absolutely I would encourage people to join and to look us up, and to, we can show you just how amazing it is to do good, and to, have this incredible fandom that allows you to do so.
Yeah, the amount of friendships, it has been probably the best part about joining the when my two best friends and I had taken not just that trip for Celebration London, but we took another European road trip. We went to 10 different countries, and it was like everywhere you went, oh, I see you're in town. Do you want to go eat dinner tonight? We stopped by this small cafe in Germany, and we had heard that it was a cool Star Wars cafe. And we walked in, and we like, look at all these 501st trading cards on the wall. And so, it was kind of a difficult communication there because we didn't speak German, and the guy who owned it didn't speak English. But, he was telling us, oh, I'm a 501st member. And it was really cool. And I remember we were just kind of driving around Europe, and my friends, Dennis, Jens, and Iris, they had been wanting to meet up with us, but they couldn't. And we had an extra day because we were ahead of schedule. And they were like, just come drive down to Kassel, Germany, and you could stay with us. And we ended up staying up all night. We had never met them in person before, but those bonds and those friendships are just so strong, even with that online presence, that the second you get to meet that online friend, it's just the most amazing feeling. And, that's, as much as I would say that trooping is great in the community aspect, the friendships and like the bonds that are formed are also really incredible. And going back to what we were talking about earlier, yeah, there's some problems and things that could change as well, but don't let that scare you from joining, because the overall vibe of the community is just incredible. The opportunities that you get to have, the tender moments that you have while trooping at like a children's hospital, or just even a kid running up and giving you a hug, is just it's all worth it, as we say in our Garrison.
And with that, I think that's a great way to end the stream. I want to thank everyone for coming out, and especially Kristen, she did take the time to record her answers prior, and you ladies for taking time out of your day. Garrison Tyrannus, thank you for allowing us to have this opportunity to let us talk and to listen. I'm really glad to see in the chat that people have had a lot of positive experiences with the 501st, and I love to hear that. I love to hear about the future events that we're going to be doing. And again, we are doing all of this for Make-A-Wish. Make sure to donate. For those who have donated, thank you. And make sure to join us again at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Rebels.